Okay, time for curveball. So we met up and Skyped before this panel just to get on the same page about stuff, and that was when we found, surprise, surprise, that Jordan was actually a woman and not a man, because Jordan's name could go either way. And so we realized, both within the sort of set of panels that have been happening at ROFLCon, which have a lot of dudes on them, and that this, we think, other than maybe the fangirl themed panel, is the only other panel to be all women. And we also realized that gender and how your gender affects your work is also a big issue in academia. So we wanted to open it up and talk a little bit about that. Jordan, do you want to talk about what's your reaction with getting mistaken for a man in every context ever, including us, sorry?
So usually it was along the lines of someone would read my name in school, like Jordan. Usually they call me Lefler because I live in Louisiana and the name Lefler doesn't exist there. It's German, not French, but they think that I just don't know what my last name is. So they'd be like, Jordan Lefler, and I'd raise my hand and be like, oh, you're a chick. Okay, all right, let me change that. I'm cool. So that was most of my experience. I never really had to correct people because eventually, they found out, they figured it out, they talked to me, they saw me in person. And then I started, getting emails addressed to Mr. Lefler. I was like, well, how do I tactfully say, hey, I'm not a man and I've never been one? Okay,
that's pretty good. You can just leave with that.
Yeah, I thought about it, played with it a little bit. And not just that, but one of my friends said, hey, so I Googled you and there are these articles about you. And I was like, okay, all right, cool. So I started looking at some of them, like Jordan Lefler. He graduated, from the University of Louisiana? Yeah, I did, for undergrad, not for my thesis. Where are they getting this information? What happened? And my office mate kept saying, well, clearly they didn't read your vita because I put, in there, she graduated from this place with this degree, and she graduated from this place with this other degree. And so I've just been kind of hoping that maybe after ROFLCon, maybe people will think of me as female.
We finally cleared up hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
Whitney, what about you? So maybe I would imagine English departments have women in them. I haven't verified. But you do spend an awful lot of time in 4chan, it would seem, and other web communities that are perceived as very male-ish?
Yeah, that's been tricky because, I identify politically as feminist, and so how do I, as feminist person, operate in these spaces that at the very least are performing, and it's tricky territory here, so I'm choosing my words carefully. They certainly perform a certain kind of misogyny, and whether or not you want to take the next step and say it is misogynist, that's a different conversation, but there certainly is a lot of stuff out there, hence the sort of dream dissertation title, Dicks Everywhere. Like, that's what's going on in these spaces. So it was very tricky in the beginning to figure out how do I declare my politics while still kind of, I didn't want to condemn it out of hand. A lot of it's really problematic, there's no question about that. And, oftentimes I'm at a loss to know exactly how to respond. What are the politics of this? What does it mean? Can women be in this space? So it just has been a conundrum from beginning to end. But like I said at the beginning, not having a ton of institutional support has forced me to be resourceful. And in the same way with the question of feminism and gender, every step along the way I had to check myself. What am I doing? How am I sort of complicit in some of these structures? What am I doing? How can I be smarter about the gender question in relation to trolls? So it's been the question from the beginning, and it's still a question. Working with the trolls has added a different layer to that because I am female, and they have for the most part been male. I have worked closely interacted in a one-on-one way over the internet with about 30 trolls, so had in-depth conversations with them. And in all of my dealings, all of the dealings that they've had, I have come across a total of one female troll who didn't want to talk to me, but got talked into by a friend of hers. And I knew that she was female because at this point they had jumped to Skype and were communicating over Skype, so there were voices actually. But only one. And I've been doing this for 3 years. And that in itself was just, again, tricky. Tricky is the answer pretty much to every single question about the research that I've done. So there's no answer to it, and discussing what the misogyny means, like I said, or perceived misogyny, performed misogyny, is a different conversation. But just the basic, how do you be a girl with all of these boys who are making rape jokes? That's not always the easiest position to inhabit.
How do you think being a girl has affected like their reactions to you? Like, is it easier for them to talk to you, harder for them to talk to you? Do you have any idea?
Well, I don't have any experience with the alternative, so it's hard
being
for me
a guy.
to, like, I don't know how they would react to me. A lot of, I mean, when I have been sort of on B, the assumption, the default is male, so they refer, the pronoun is he, so they have no idea who I am. The trolls I worked with more on Facebook, they knew I was female. I indicated who I was. I sent them all my information as soon as I was interviewing them in that way. And I don't know. I mean, I have been treated respectfully, I will say. I have had moments like up there where there's sort of mock threats made, but how exactly my gender has impacted my ability to get information, I don't know. I do know that I've gotten the information that I needed to get, so it wasn't so much of a hurdle that I couldn't do what I came here to do. So that's as much, I think, as I can answer that question.
Yeah, great. Kate, has gender?
Yeah, the interesting thing about researching lolcats is that the relationship between cats and women is kind of fraught a little bit.
Because of the slang term, the P word?
No, actually, you know what? I hadn't even thought about that, but thank you very much for going there.
I was thinking like that lady.
Yeah, so the crazy,
Someone else said that to me.
So the whole crazy cat lady thing. I actually, generally speaking, I'm allergic to cats. Like, I'm not that into cats. Like, I had a dog at one point, so everyone assumes because I'm studying, or because I studied lolcats, that I'm like way into cats and like totally a cat lady, and like, which was kind of funny. I mean, it's not like I found it offensive, but it just was an interesting assumption. And then I found what was really interesting in my research was the tension between the meme geeks and how they blamed a lot of the cheese friends for ruining lolcats. Like, oh my God, those old ladies who do nothing but speak in lol speak, like they totally ruined lolcats, like it's totally over. My mom sent me one, like, ugh. Like I'm on to a cooler thing now. And there definitely was that tinge of like both ageism and misogyny in that a little bit. It's sort of like, that was really interesting. In terms of me personally, the Gawker comments on the article about my dissertation devolved into a discussion about my pigtails that were in my picture. So yeah, well, that was actually not on Gawker. That was on Soda Head. Sorry, people were not that thrilled that I was doing this. But so like they pulled that from my Twitter avatar. It's a really old picture, and I have pigtails in it. And there was this whole long discussion, like, she's 29 and she's wearing pigtails, like, ew, what the hell, like, how unprofessional, like, like, oh my God, it's such not a good hairstyle on her, oh, well, she's actually not that bad looking, like, blah, blah, blah. Like, there
I get that a lot, too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and, that definitely would not have happened if I had been a guy. Like, they would not have started talking about my hair, like, they just wouldn't have. So, I mean, I think that's just being a woman in the public eye in general. I don't necessarily think it's connected to being an academic. I mean, I don't know, all of the professors in my department, most of them are women. I would say my department was 75% women, and so that I didn't experience, like when I was in the halls of academia, like that wasn't an issue, but afterward, like the public reaction to the stuff that I was doing, and that's when gender really came into play.
Just quickly, you mentioned the cheesy town, is it actually all women?
Yeah, so there's actually a woman, a Cheese Town crier. The Cheese Town crier is, it is mostly women. There's actually a woman, an academic out of, I believe it's Iowa State, who did, who's done some research on the Cheese Town crier and talks about like the nature of community, and it is mostly women. Like, I don't know if there are some men in that, but in my sample, like all of the cheese friends were women. So, I mean, I don't really know what that necessarily says. I mean, I couldn't really go into it too deeply. I don't want to be like making wild assumptions.
You can speak for all women if you would like.
Yeah, of course.
That's fine.
Yeah, so no, I mean, there was something very, like I found that with there were more men in like the meme geek thing, and they talked more about how they liked fail and lolcat, like fail lols a lot more, and how the reason that they liked lolcats was because they saw them as the progenitor for advice memes and other things that were a little like more hardcore in their humor. And with the cheese friends, like they kind of took it into they liked cheeseburger because, as one of my participants said, it's a place for people to be kind and nice and safe on the internet. Like they saw it as this safe haven, which is a distinct difference from Whitney's experience.
Yeah.
So.
I'm always the Darth Vader on panels. That's what I've found, is that like people do nice stuff and then I'm like, I do trouble. Always the monster in the room.
Cool, all right, so the next thing that we wanted to talk about, sorry about the Darth Vader thing. I think you're nice. That's...
Well, no, not me. I mean, I'm not a troll. I'm just saying that like on panels often the stuff that I do is like the big scary, I always say the most bad words and have the worst stories to tell, typically. It's fun.
Okay, so looking forward, so I know I get this reaction all the time. I got this reaction like at lunch today, where it's like, oh, what are you spending? And it's like, oh, something about internet culture. And people are like, oh, why would you do that? So that's kind of how people react to this stuff right now, right? And that's even kind of some of what this Gawker article is, I think, performing. What do you guys see about the future? Like, where do you see this going? What would you hope that your work turns into? What kind of other work would you like to see in the field? And do you think sort of academic considerations of online culture has a future?
Oh my, those are a lot of questions.
Please answer all of those questions. Yeah.
I mean, I would say, okay, so if someone were to say to me, why would you do that? I would say to them, well, we are living in a moment where the biggest trolls around are actually not trolls at all. They are, in fact, our media. And so we have this sort of system where really nasty stuff gets propagated by the people who are doing the bad stuff, but it also is amplified by people who are not maybe being, well, they're going after clicks and things. So we have all kinds of trollishness that's going on that's just amplifying existing trollishness within the sort of ROFL space. And it becomes this sort of feedback loop. And frankly, people are not very nice. And to blame that all on trolls and to say, oh, it's just this, it's the aberrant element. No, they're not aberrational. That's what happens. That's how people behave to each other. And if you want to understand that and try to get to the root of that, when you talk about cyberbullying and all these terrible things that are happening, it's not the trolls that are doing that. We have to think carefully and critically about what's going on in the world, how media is representing things, in order to have sort of more meaningful conversations about where we are culturally. So if you want to sort of roll your eyes at doing work on trolls, fine, but trolls are embedded in much larger systems that shouldn't be eye-rolled at. That's crazy.
So you're saying we can't just ignore it and it will go away? That's not a strategy.
I didn't hear what?
I'm sorry. Let's not talk about me. Kate.
I mean, all throughout this weekend I've been listening to people talk about memes and their importance. I mean, memes are how we communicate these days, It's part of, I don't know if Cole's in the audience, Cole Stryker, but he talks about memes and there's a visual vernacular, and this is how we communicate. I mean, I was just in the GIF panel, and they talk about how GIFs are emotional shortcuts. Like, I found in my research that it's personal, like, people make lolcats and people make advice memes, like, they have entire conversations without any words at all. They just send images back and forth to each other. It happens in my office all the time. Like, people just send like lolcats and advice memes around to each other, and that's how people communicate. So, I mean, we need to understand how human beings communicate. I mean, that's what academia is about, ultimately, is understanding human behavior, at least a section of academia. I mean, if we don't study this stuff, it's a deep part of our cultural landscape. It's how we are now. So, I mean, if anything, I feel like we've only really scratched the tip of the iceberg with this. I mean, there should be so much more about, I mean, I would love to go back and do my PhD just on advice beams. I mean, they so clearly traffic in, like, you know, social mores and all of that stuff, and what, I don't know, I mean, Whitney, you could probably talk more about mirror theory than I could, but in folklore, there's like a theory that what people create reflects their societal anxiety. So like in the 1950s, there were a lot of movies about invasions because everyone was afraid of communism. So, I mean, the stuff that people are creating online, I think that if we were to really look at that in a larger amount, I think that we'd be able to see exactly where we are as a society. I mean, that may be kind of highfalutin, but I believe that, really.
Good. Jordan?
What she said. Basically, I mean, really, we need to, in order to understand where things are going in the world, we need to look at how the internet affects the world, because, you know, as we've all seen in this conference, the internet kind of affects the world a lot nowadays, which is part of the reason why we're all here. And if we're ignoring part of our culture that is coming into the real world, then, I mean, we're kind of, you know, limiting ourselves in a way, I guess. So that's what I'd add to that.
Okay, thank you very much, all three of you. I'm going to take it one more turn, no more eye contact, and look at you guys. Let's go to some questions. I got a hand from Hoodie.
Nice to meet you, I'm Whitney. So, talk about how the memes have such an impact on us here in America. So, because you're local, you're in London. Yes, you.
Yeah.
So I guess you might have a further eye into the international memes, but we saw the keynote, or the keynote yesterday and talked about all those. Do you feel like you've got a narrow view after now learning about all those other international ones? Or do you feel like there's more you haven't approached yet?
I mean, I even feel with an Anglophone memes, I haven't even scratched the surface. They proliferate at such a rate that it's really difficult to keep up. I mean, and that's why things like Know Your Meme are so essential, because, I mean, even those of us who profess to be experts, like, we need our shortcuts too. Like, I literally do not have the time to, like, sit and comb through the internet all day and be knowledgeable enough about everything that's coming out. I mean, even I feel like a fraud half the time, because it's like, oh yes, internet culture expert who only just discovered Baz News Brian. Like, you know, it's like, it's really difficult to keep up. So, I mean, understanding even that little bit, like, I mean, I'm never going to speak Cantonese, like, you know, and even all of the Brazilian memes, stuff like that, like, it's, yeah. So, yes, very narrow view, that to answer your question.